This is Breakfast Daily, and this is the news review segment. My guest in the studio, Paul Eric Ofori of COPEC, is head of research, and Mensa Thompson of ASEPA. Now we move on to the importation restriction policy. Minority kicks against lane of LI for second time. Let's go to the Citi newsroom. There's a story on this. So quickly. This is a story by Letitia Osei. It says 6 business associations which will be affected by the importation restrictions bill have submitted a petition to Parliament in opposition to the proposed legislative instrument. The groups under the umbrella name Joint Business Consultative Forum include the Ghana Union of Traders Association GUTA, Food and Beverages Association of Ghana FABAG, Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana, Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, Chamber of Automobile Dealership Ghana, and Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. It further goes on to say that tempers flared up last Friday when the legislative instrument was laid in Parliament with the minority opposing it. The minority argued that the LI, if passed, would benefit only a section of the New Patriotic Party members. In a petition dated November 26, the six business associations argued that if passed, the LI will adversely affect the prices of goods, the free flow of goods, and could also cripple businesses. The groups are therefore calling on Parliament to reject the bill. Quote, "We vehemently oppose this LI and would appreciate its immediate rejection by Parliament to allow for proper consultation and dialogue to take place. We strongly oppose this LI on the following grounds. The price of most products mentioned in the Ministry of Trade and Industry policy proposal will result in serious price hikes as competition will be severely restricted." They stressed the minister is the ultimate decision maker on what companies and end up trading each other of these items. This will eventually lead to a monopolistic or oligopolistic position for a few select businesses in the country at the expense of many smaller businesses. They also expressed fear that the permit system will hinder the flow of goods from other countries. Now, quote, "The permit system will definitely hinder the flow of goods from exporting countries to receivers in Ghana, since importers would no longer be able to rely on market demands to dictate the quality to be ordered, as companies will be at the whims of the Minister of Trade and Industry." So, you can get the full story, on Citi Newsroom. But Mensa, let me start with you. So this is, we are now talking of 24-hour economy, and by extension, we are also looking at the importation of some of these things and the fact that there should be a ban on importation of some selected products in the system. Your thoughts?
Yes, Freema, I will advise government to hasten very, very slowly in this policy, because already the economy is being suffocated.
Yeah.
Inflation has gone beyond acceptable thresholds. And sometimes you may mean well with a policy, but how you go about it and the direction could end up impacting negatively on the economy. Of course, we know it is good for every government to promote export and try as much as possible to reduce its import. Fundamental. And so we have always advocated for a direct shift of us being an import-dependent economy to be a predominantly exporting economy. And so on the surface of it, this seemed like a very good policy. Government want to restrict the importation of certain items. It's good. Unfortunately, the market conditions at this time do not allow or would not make this policy have the impact government intends it to have on the economy. One, if you want to ban a certain product, which has a huge demand. Look at the number of, the quantity of these items we consume every year. And so already the demand there exists. Once you cap the supply of this product, what you do is that you create what we call a demand pool inflation. The little supply of that product in the economy, now people begin to hoard that product. And you take us back to the 1983 time when, people have goods, they will hoard it because they want to impact prices.
Yeah.
You take us back to those era. And so what we have always advocated for is that this is a liberal market. Government do not have to intervene in this market. The moment you intervene, you shift the focus of the market. You distort the market conditions.
Right.
Government can create policy incentives. For example, if it is local rice,
Yeah.
that you want to encourage local consumption or consumption of local rice as against their imported rice, then you need to implement policies that will over time create conditions for people to consume locally made rice. You can do that through taxes, tax incentives, which will then impact on prices. You can do that through support to industries producing those commodities to improve on quality, because quality will automatically affect consumption, the demand for the product. And with time, the consumption of the locally manufactured rice grows to the level where it can now compete with the imported rice. And because of government's incentive to those producing local rice, once they are competing at the same level and the quality are the same and the local rice is cheaper, automatically you tilt the balance in favor of the locally, produced rice. And this is not a policy you wake up one day and you slam it. You must be deliberate about it and with time. Because the demand that has been created on this imported rice did not happen over time. Sorry, in just a moment.
Yeah.
It was a demand, it was a consumption condition that has been created over time. You cannot erode that in just a day, because people will still demand for that commodity. And when people demand that, what you do is that now people will not bring the product through the approved borders for you to even get your taxes. They will smuggle the product in. One, you lose the taxes you would have gotten from them coming through your official ports. And then also you create chronic capitalism, where now, because people have gone through all those diverse ways to bring in the product, they sell it at expensive prices, it pushes your inflation up, and then you distort market conditions. That is not the way to go about it. On the face of it, it may look like a good policy, but the government must hasten slowly. And for me, I see it extremely contradictory to the philosophy of the NPP as a capitalist party. And I think that now we don't even know the identity of the NPP anymore, because for an NPP government to be thinking, a capitalist government, to be now thinking of intervening in a liberal market with such restrictions is so deviating from the core principle of a capitalist party. And so now we don't know the identity of the NPP party anymore, because as a political party, we know that the NDCs are socialists, and so they may be inclined towards intervening in the market to favor, just to create advantages for the poor and all that. But the capitalists are liberals. They practice open markets. That is their philosophy. And so please, this is going to create even more burden on the already struggling economy.
Right.
Government must rethink this policy. They must engage the traders. They must engage the people, the stakeholders properly, and then find a way. That is not how to solve the problem of the exchange rate.
Right.
The problem of the exchange rate runs far deeper than the importation of these items. Please, there are other existential conditions that also impact on exchange rate. If you ban rice importation and you don't solve that, you make zero impact on the exchange rate.
Right.
And so please,
Paul,
this policy will not help.
I'm happy that Mensa said that on the face value, it's a great idea, but much more needs to be considered. Now, I am also looking, I don't know what you think of trying to develop Ghanaians' taste for Ghanaian products. It's something that we don't have. And so everybody is looking at the easy way out. Okay, the imported rice is nicer, the imported rice is cheaper than this. If we do not begin to look at some of the difficulties that we get into in trying to build our economy, trying to get us to enjoy what we produce locally and also get more people to go into it, would you say that sometimes we need to take some difficult decisions, we need to make some difficult choices just to make us grow?
Thank you, Frema. I think first and foremost, we need to commend Citi FM for the initiative they took a couple of years ago in drumming home the message of consuming local rice.
Yeah.
And believe you me, that single act boosted the local rice consumption to that level. And that is why these days you find a lot of, even some restaurants, insisting that they are not using any foreign imported rice, but locally manufactured rice. And that, for me, is something very laudable that we need to commend Citi FM on. Quite apart from that, I think restrictions are necessary evils, that are deliberately done to making sure local production is also enhanced. However, it must be done in a way that it does not affect the economy, in the long term. The LI, usually when laid in Parliament, takes 21 days. That 21 working days, it becomes difficult for any member to make input as far as its that LI is concerned. And so the concerns of the minority was that, listen, hold on, don't lay it yet. Let us engage. There are concerns coming in from the players within the industry. Let's listen to them more and try to see how best we can fine-tune the LI so that when it becomes a law, we all know how best to work around the law. Unfortunately, my uncle KT had different ideas.
But let me also say that the majority chief whip has also come out to say that yes, they are going to sit with the minority and go through it. And he's going to make
that's
sure
also
that
because it wasn't late.
From today, he's going to ensure that they come together and discuss
Beautiful.
Stuff. So,
Beautiful. That is all we are expecting, that they will sit around the table, have that stakeholder engagement, judge or more, and then at the end of the day, we have an LI that is able to meet or satisfy. Now, even before the LI, what are we restricting? Rice, sugar, tomatoes, about 22 items that were listed, including even vehicles. I am not against importation of items onto our market. What I'm against is one, chicken. Personally, I have not tasted imported chicken in like 4 years. And I'm happy to say that. Again, tomatoes, sugar. We have Commander Sugar Factory. What has happened to it? What has become of it? Another white elephant? We invested so much of our resources, in excess of about $100 million was pushed into that factory. And today, it is just sitting at white elephant, doing nothing. Pualugu Tomato Factory, what has happened? What has become of it? Aveime Rice Project, what has also become of it? See, we have all these entities state-owned, and they seem to be sitting idle whilst we are wallowing in poverty. We import virtually everything in this country, if not for individuals in this country who have decided that, hey, let us try and make our own toothpick. And there's a gentleman who is spearheading that. And so now we can boast of a locally manufactured toothpick. All right? We're importing virtually everything. Our neighbors, Burkina Faso, if not for them, I don't know how we would have survived with tomatoes. Meanwhile, just look at our land. Niger. you have the land, you have virtually everything, yet we are importing everything. Excuse me to ask, what is wrong with us? Is it a leadership crisis, or we just don't have the technical know-how in getting some of these things done? Look at our import bill just for last year alone, $11.9 billion. And here we were chasing IMF for a paltry $3 billion. And even with that, we've not even gotten $1 billion yet.
Well, so
we are importing virtually everything.
Yeah.
And this is where we must
wrapping up, because I want us to touch on the last.
I get you.
Yeah.
This is where we must put the restrictions in place, just so we can curb some of these things, especially with rice. My issue is with rice, with chicken. You have just about 1% of production capacity.
Let's run a 24-hour economy.
Well, I agree.
You increase production.
We have just 1%.
Because how sustainable is it, to be importing food that you are eating? How sustainable is that?
So what if a country decides for a year we are not growing tomatoes? Burkina Faso. What happens to us? What if Niger decides that we are not planting onion for a year? What happens to us?
So, but if you cut the importation now, what happens to the demand?
Right.
My point here is that
you can't meet the demand, and then you create a crisis.
Right.
So
it must be gradual. I get your point. It must be gradual. But you see, we need to empower the local manufacturers. Poultry, for instance.
Exactly.
You see, they have all diverted into egg production. Why? Because they do not have the resources. Government is not helping. If you give them these incentives, believe you me, they will be there.
Absolutely. So
they have moved.
So
let's see. Now we have just about 20% doing poultry.
Right. So let's see how things unfold. We'll come back for your head. We'll come back to you. Right. So in the coming days, the majority and minority will sit, and then Georgia, and let's see the way forward.